Hello. This is day 5 of the exploration canoe trip, the northern part of Algonquin with my friend. And today is comparatively short, is a pack up at the site and a paddle out and then a walk along the rail trail. But in addition, I give you a gear review before I leave the campsite of the items that worked well for me on this trip. If you enjoy my work, please consider subscribing, as it would help me build my channel. Thank you very much.
Hopefully in the background you can hear the sound of the waterfall coming that we visited yesterday. It's about 3 kilometers away. We can hear it here in camp today. So let's see if we pick it up on the phone. Now, I'm not much of a backcountry cook, but here's my patented breakfast of chocolate oatmeal, 4 packs of regular oatmeal, and 2 scoops of, or 5 tablespoons of Nestle's Quick. Tastes great. And it's dependable no matter what flavors they change. This is my Woods backpacking stove, and it's amazing. And even with the small canister over this trip, because I don't boil water that much, it goes a long way. With these types of butane canisters, sometimes it's hard to know what's left in it. What I do is, I think the can weighs 99 grams or something like that, and then there's 114 grams of product. And so what I do is I weigh it on a diet scale at home, and what's left, and I know as a percentage roughly what's in there. I've used this for this entire trip, and again, I just boil a bit of water for soup, boil a bit of water for oatmeal. So I use the stove very little in comparison, and it works very nicely. So Frank has a longer way to go to get home than I do. So he's gonna head out this morning, and I got the chance to relax because I live in Northern Ontario. And so he's almost packed up here, and I'm still having breakfast in this beautiful place. So we'll say goodbye to him in a few minutes, and then we'll eventually pack up and be on our way. I've got bug jackets. I just got to wear them.
Well, the thing is, I prefer the bug shirts because they never go through that.
No, I wear 2 of them, and then I wear 2 mesh jackets, and then they don't get through.
Well, the thing is, with that bug shirt, it's very cool. It's designed to be cool.
I had one, and I couldn't take the heat, so that's why.
No. I mean, this canoe shirt, right?
Oh yeah.
It whisks away, right? So it's always dry.
Safe travels, friend.
Thank you, sir. Until the next adventure.
Yep. Stay in touch.
And away we go.
So this is, in Algonquin Park, this is the typical backcountry toilet. On one hand, it seems like a luxury to be able to have a place to sit and do your business. But the reason they do it is to prevent people from relieving themselves all over the place in the forest and the scattering of toilet paper and so on. Now you can see the campsite's back over there. So these things always open back toward the trail. So if someone's sitting there and you come upon them not knowing they're there, you're only going to see head and shoulders. So, and theoretically, when you're camping, we're friends. So there's respect for privacy. And so whether there's mixed genders and so on doesn't really matter because you're among friends and hopefully people behave themselves. Each backcountry campsite has one of these. They're typically known as thunderboxes or kaibos or something like that. You shouldn't be putting your food waste and so on in there, but just body waste and toilet paper. And there you have it. So this is my Spark 2.0 backpacking tent. It's been absolutely wonderful. Weighs about 4 pounds with the ground sheet, maybe 4.2. It might be like 1.2 meters wide inside. You have your air mattress and a little bit of room. You're not going to bring in, big backpack or anything like that. But I generally don't do that anyway. And it was a very nice little place to stay outside of the mosquitoes and so on. So I'm a big fan. The bag that comes with this thing has a spot for everything in it. The stakes, the pole system is all in one piece. The fly, the ground sheet, and the tent itself. And it's a very fine unit. Again, Spark 2.0 tent from Mountain Equipment here in Canada. Good morning. I always find that when I do a trip, I think about what I took and the gear and so on, and I want to kind of add that to my video, and it never happens. So I think it's better to do it here at the site before I finish packing up. This isn't definitive, it's just the gear that I've used on this trip that worked really well for me. In no particular order, and some of the stuff I bought a while ago and I don't know if it's still available. These swim shoes I got off the net. Sport Zero is all I can find on them, and they've been absolutely wonderful. So when I come to the site, I have my big backpacking boots on in the canoe for portaging and keep my feet from getting ground up with the sand and so on. And I switched to these with no socks on, so if I'm at the site I can walk around very comfortable. I can also walk out into the water if I need to wash something or cooled off or whatever. If there's any kind of clams or something in the bottom, you don't have to worry about hurting your feet. These things have been absolutely amazing. So once again, they're called Sport Zero. I don't have anything else on them, and I got them off the net somewhere, and they're really nice. Oh, the only thing I would say about them is these insoles tend to fall out when they're wet and stick to your foot, but they're really not hard to put back in, so whatever, right? The next thing, I've done this a few times. This is my second or third one, I think. When I'm canoeing, I don't want to have to go to my pack and so on if I want to grab a camera or whatever, or my GPS and so forth. So I wear a fisherman's vest when I'm paddling, and there's a pocket for everything, and it's great. So, and something else I want to mention, binoculars are heavy. A binocular like this, and not a very expensive one, 10x, works really well. And you can see all you need to see generally looking for portage signs or things in the distance. It's been really, really nice. So this is certainly something that I would always do. This one fits a little loose on me, and maybe we'll see if we can figure that out, but it's indispensable as far as I'm concerned. I got a new microfiber towel. I just bought it from Canadian Tire. It's a Woods one. I'd had one before, and it kind of had its day. This works amazingly well. If you take your feet out of the swim shoes and they're damp, and you want to put on your real boots, and you could just wipe their feet off and hold it for a few seconds, it really makes a difference. This thing has been terrific, and I'm really happy with it. This is the first trip I've used my Be-Free water filter by Katahdin. They're pretty common right now. It weighs nothing, like about maybe a quarter of a pound, a couple hundred grams, or I don't know, whatever, but it's not very much when it's empty. And I just hung it from the tripod of my camera, which I think I showed in the videos. The filter from the lakes I've had before with other filters, pump filters, it still has a fishy taste a little bit sometimes, it's just a little bit. You don't taste anything with this. This water tastes like it comes out of the tap at home. It's wonderful. You just open the cap at the bottom, and it just drips out. You don't have to do anything, and really pleased how it works. And to fill it, you just undo the little filter thing, and then take this to the lake and swoosh it or fill it from a faucet or something, it'll hold up to 3 liters. I never quite get that much in there, but certainly get 2 liters in, which is enough to fill the bottle and a bit more. So this item has been really good. This trip was the first trip I ran with this new device I got. It's called a Fantaseal. This is a mount that I'm using on the side of my canoe to hold my camera while I'm talking as I'm going. And this is really kind of cool. The clamp here has rubber on it, so it doesn't mark your canoe, and it works pretty nicely. Doesn't slip. And this thing is rigid, including the ball joints. And then you loosen this clamp, and that loosens the whole thing, and then it'll change its shape until you decide what you want. Then you clamp it tight again, like so, and then the whole thing's rigid. Really clever. Supposedly holds 10 pounds. I'm not putting anything like that on it, but I really this has been great on the canoe with the camera and so on, allowing me to do that. So hopefully I've aimed the camera properly and the shots I've taken are worth something. And this pillow I got a while ago. It's by Thermarest. It's apparently filled with ground up old Thermarest of all things. Now you're supposed to be able to fold it on itself to make it compact. I don't bother. What I do instead is simply put it on the top of my canoe pack. Now what this does is it'll squish down quite nicely with the straps on the pack. But what I do, and by that I mean inside the pack of course, to keep it dry, by putting it on top of my other gear, it serves as an insulation to my food and so forth from the sun beating down on it in the canoe. I've also tried at home, here in the backcountry and in the RV even, that I try to have the same sleep system with about the same size of pillows, same type of mattress situation, so that when you move from one to the next, the adaptation for trying to sleep is not very much, is a fairly small adaptation, and I think that works. This is quite a supportive pillow, and much bigger than a little blow-up one would be, and it's a lot nicer on your face than, say, I don't like the nylon feel to it. So this has really been a winner for me. I've used it before, but this time, and so I thought I'd mention it. And the last thing is my new Nemo Tensor long and wide air mattress. So I'm a big guy. I'm 230 pounds, 6'3", and so I need a little more thickness for comfort, and I'm 62, so I've got aches and pains that younger people don't have. Well, this thing's wonderful. It weighs nothing, maybe weighs a pound or something, I don't know. It's just, and you fill it with the bag and you can control the pressure on it. What's even better was that I found when I lied on a standard Thermarest in the day with clothing, I found it felt clammy against it, and I found that very uncomfortable. For some reason, I can lie on this surface and it feels better. It feels more comfortable. I had no problem sleeping on top of this with, I didn't wear pajamas on everything. And it was fantastic. So couldn't be happier with how this turned out. I also have always been afraid with air mattresses that you roll around, it's going to go poof, and you're in trouble. For some reason, this one, I didn't seem to worry about it too much. I rolled around on it and, responsibly, and it just worked tremendously well. So I'm really happy with that. And this thing, of course, folds up into a package about this big, which is, of course, what you want for compactness when you're packing out. And that's what I have for new gear or gear that caught my eye on this particular trip. I'm just sitting here enjoying this camp. It's just been a wonderful 5 days up here in Algonquin Park and all these different lakes. And so I'm just going to put everything into my canoe pack and head out. Now the other thing just to mention, and you can see it sometimes in the differences between how people do this, I like to have one pack with everything in it, and if I can't get it in that, then I don't carry it. And that's sort of the compromise you have between comfort and portability. For a long time I never portaged. I always single portaged, carrying 120 pounds or something. I'm getting older and I don't want to get hurt, and so I'm kind of migrated to the double portage, Now maybe on a shorter trip where my pack is a lot lighter, maybe I could still do it, I don't know. But the idea of having just the canoe pack and the canoe and it's zip done is appealing to me. I like creature comforts the same as the next person. And I think for the bugs, well, let's just do it another way. Say like the regrets on this particular trip. So I forgot, well I didn't forget, I chose not to take my bug protection because at home the bugs weren't too bad, but that's not here. And I could have used my bug jackets and would have made life a lot more comfortable for me, especially at the site on Mink Lake. That's the way it goes. And of course I had the Incardin pump spray. I found it more or less ineffective. It might work for a couple of hours, but it just simply wasn't up to the mark in the backcountry. The DEET has been more reliable. I sprayed my legs earlier and the bugs are still leaving me alone here today. So I think I might go back to that, just because when you're doing things, I have 200 or 300 bites on this trip. Now I'm kind of lucky in that I've been in the backcountry one way or the other for on and off, of course, for 30 years. I've had a lot of bites, and so as a consequence, I find I don't really itch very much. I'll have 1 or 2 bites that bother me, and most of them don't bother me at all. But you know, it's better not to get bitten at all if you can avoid it. And now at the same time, of course, we know that DEET is really hard on plastics, cameras, GPSs, food containers. So I never put DEET on my arms or my anywhere near where my hands go, so that when I'm doing things I don't damage my stuff. Anyhow, again, a really nice trip here, and so I'm just going to close out things here on Keoshkeokee Lake campsite, and we'll begin to head back to the car. I'm going to take a little bit of a loop through the bays and stuff just to see things, and then I still want to walk on the railroad track when I get back. Okay, so I'm just about ready to leave our site here, and with regrets in all honesty, because it's just been beautiful here, and the weather as well. Now, when on a backcountry site in Algonquin, there's to be no unburnable food containers. Now, I'm not going to get into a moral discussion about all that, but what I will say is this: there's no excuse whatsoever for anyone bringing glass with the containers we have today. So setting that one aside, if you break the rules and bring cans or whatever into the park, for heaven's sake, take them home with you, please. The cans weigh absolutely nothing compared to what they weighed coming in with whatever in them. And one of the nice things about up here in Algonquin North has been that these sites are pristine. I haven't found a piece of garbage anywhere in the fireplace, around the site whatsoever. And in addition, there's hardly any squirrels or chipmunks running around the site, which you get a lot of in the southern part of the park. And red squirrels are quite aggressive. I've had them sitting while I'm sitting at the campsite, eating away or doing my thing, and they're chewing into my food bag on the other side. And they can be quite destructive and very aggressive. So having them not around has been a real pleasure, because you don't have to fight them off every 2 minutes and getting into things that matter to you. So whatever your morals on this, please, when you leave the site, make sure it looks like you were never there, whatever that means. And it's just been a real joy to be here. I'll just show you before we go. And so you can see the fire pit is completely empty, which is wonderful. There aren't even cigarette butts in there. No one should be smoking in a forest anyway, but that's another story. And then you have some pressed grass, of course, where we were camping, but you'd never know we were here, and that's the way it should be. And it's not tooting my horn in particular. I just think that's if we cherish this incredible privilege of having such a large area for recreation, then let's take care of it. We're on our way here. So the last time on this trip from Kioskiakwi Lake. Here we go. Paddle away from the mosquitoes a little bit here first. It's warm this morning. We find getting a little more warmth than the other days. Lots of sun and dead still. I've never seen these lakes, especially bigger ones like this, so still. It is amazing to me that it's like this. Just going to set up my GPS control panel. It's a new idea that I had. This worked out very well. I find it interesting to see what the GPS has to say when I'm paddling, and just the way my canoe is configured, I put it around my yoke pad here just with Velcro, and there you have a nice little control panel. So it's about 3.4 kilometers from here to Kiosk and the takeout for this trip. But I'm going to bend it a little bit to the right and look at some of the bays, and there's an island there I hadn't really looked at properly when we came in. So it might be 4-ish before we get back, and then I'll pack things into the car, and then I want to walk on that railroad track a little bit out to the first bridge and come back, figuring that's about 1.5, 1.8k one way, and then when that's finished, then we head back. So ride with me for a few minutes here before we turn it off. So, I've got another 400 or 500 meters to go on the paddle part of this trip. It has been a wonderful trip, and we've probably gone, by the time I finish the rail hike, we'll have gone 110 kilometers of human travel in 5 days. And we were just steady going. We weren't pushing. We were very fortunate. We had terrific weather and no heavy headwinds or things where it's really tough to come, or just a little bit of a ripple in the water. And our loads when we were portaging were, 50 or 60 pounds. So it's been a really nice trip. I feel very fortunate. And when I get to the kiosk up here, I'll turn the camera around. I'm going to have my lunch, put everything on the Jeep, and then I'm going to go have a walk in the rail track. And then it's time to end this trip and head back home again. I really appreciate you coming along with me on this trip, and hope that some of what I've shown here encourages some of you to consider some backcountry traveling. See you down the road. So I've reached the first railway bridge. I might go just a little further, but this is the scene. Of course, we went under this twice on this trip. Well, I just got back from my hike along the rail bed to the first trestle. Had a wonderful time here at the north end of Algonquin Park. I want to thank you again for coming along with me on this trip. Please consider subscribing to my channel and give this video a like if you enjoy my work, and look forward to seeing you again. Thank you very much.
The final day of this trip was a comparatively short paddle, followed by a 3 or 4 kilometer hike out to the first trestle. This also included time for the gear review, time to pack up the car, and drive back home. We started the trip at the campsite, and Frank, of course, left earlier, and that's item 1 on the map. I then followed the coastline very closely, as you can see on the map, and leading all the way up to the kiosk station. When I arrived at item 2 there, I put my gear back in the car, and then I walked along that aspect of the old rail trail, which is item 3, stopping at the trestle, which is item 4. And then, of course, retracing my steps back to item 2 and my vehicle. So again, a shorter day, but we ended up with approximately 110 or so kilometers of travel over the 5 days. Thanks again for watching.